2025 was a stellar year for video games, both big and small, and while we did a pretty solid job of covering as many of them as we could here at Second Wind, it's inevitable that some of them slipped through the cracks. So I thought it'd be helpful to take a look at some games that we didn't find time to cover on the channel last year. That means no fully ramblomatic, design delve, bite-sized, or video essays, so sorry to underplayed bangers like Citizen Sleeper 2, Kingdoms of the Dump, Promise Mascot Agency, House of Necrosis, and miscellaneous A Tiny Tale. I'm also choosing games that we didn't check out on streams like Yahtzee Tries or Hot Monday Energy, so that means no Wander Stop, Sword of the Sea, Maze Mice, Sectori, or Ooh, although you should find time to play each and every one of those. Alright, enough jibber jabber. Let's dig into the games that snuck under the radar in 2025.
Ambidextro.
Kicking things off is Ambidextro, a multiplayer game for a single player. You are a wizard who is split into two separate entities, which you control separately and simultaneously using the left half and right half of your controller. What starts off as a relatively simple platformer quickly becomes a test to see just how broken your brain can be. Turns out, navigating increasingly asymmetrical time challenges is way harder than it might appear. Also, this is in the running for the best video game title of the year. Seriously, Ambidextro is poetry.
And Roger.
And Roger is a short visual novel that's best played as blind as possible, so let's just stick with the Steam description. It was a morning like all others until she realized her dad wasn't home. In his place, a stranger who speaks nonsense and insists she takes her medicine. Who is he? Where is Dad? The gameplay is similar to 2018's excellent Florence in how it expresses familiar life events like first dates and heartbreak using simple yet evocative mechanics. You can finish the game in about an hour, but if you're anything like me, this experience will stick with you for so much longer.
Axyz.
Axyz is an excellent little puzzle game where you defy gravity, navigate these floating 3D structures, and gobble up any and all shiny collectibles that leave a twinkle in the eyes of your cool orb. It's a little bit Monkey Ball, a little bit Super Mario Galaxy, and a lot of the forgotten PS1 gem Kula World. It's great for chipping away at a quick puzzle or two, or completely losing yourself over the course of an afternoon. Also, the game's pitch-perfect aesthetics make you feel like you're trapped inside the Y2K era internet, which honestly sounds like a pretty nice place to be compared to the hellscape of modern life.
Chronoquartz.
Chronoquartz might be the sneaky best banger on this whole list. You play as a wizard in a top-down, grid-like Zelda world. The catch is that you can only move 10 screens in any given run before you die and restart from your magical spawn point. That means that the Metroidvania is strong with this one, as knowledge you glean in the form of hidden shortcuts, enemy weaknesses, and the way mechanics work allow you to progress further and further each time. This is only heightened by a mechanic where you can lock a scant, finite amount of items that you'll be able to carry over into your next run. I don't know if Smartest Game of the Year is an award, but Chronoquartz makes a strong case for having the biggest brain of 2025.
Demonschool.
Demonschool is an RPG with a smattering of tactics, heavily influenced in equal parts by giallo horror films and the early Shin Megami Tensei and Persona games. And yeah, just one look at the anime-inspired cast of teens battling demons in a high school makes that pretty clear. Characters are charming, the story is engaging, and the vibes are heavy thanks to an excellent color palette, synth score, and creature design. The grid-based combat has a healthy emphasis on enemy placement and synergizing your party's attacks to control the flow of any given battle. And outside of fights, you'll be wandering around town, snagging side quests, strengthening your bonds with pals, and working to improve your characters. This one snuck in late in the year, but is absolutely worth spending some time with during this quiet stretch of 2026.
In a Dream Barbecue.
Ina Dream Barbecue feels like it comes from a world where the rules of game design no longer exist, which is honestly the kind of world I want to live in. Influenced by the cult classic LSD Dream Emulator, the kind of kaleidoscopic surrealism on display here as you meander from one strange scenario to the next feels akin to getting lost in the deep recesses of a creative's imagination. Ina is less a game and more of an interactive thing, but honestly, I find those labels to be pretty boring and just a smidge anti-art. It's similar to 2025's wonderful Soup Rooms, and yes, that is my way of sneaking in another game on this list. No matter what you want to classify it as, Ina Dream Barbecue's first chapter is a surreal experience that I haven't been able to shake for almost a year, and I'm eagerly awaiting the next installment.
Go Slimey Go.
Go Slimey Go is my favorite 2D platformer of 2025. You play as this adorable little goo boy who jumps, bounces, and shoots its way across dozens of bite-sized platforming levels, collecting coins and pressing forward towards an exit. The real joy here comes from two places. First, the extremely tight controls pair well with the brief levels and quick respawn times, keeping you engaged no matter how many times you might fail on a given obstacle. The second is how each stage is not only named after a play on words of a well-known game, but the challenges also kinda reflect what you'd expect from its source material. It may not have the emotional resonance of Celeste, but the joy I felt while playing it certainly reminded me of that platforming bliss.
Herdling.
If Journey and Nintendogs did the Predator handshake meme, then the result would probably be Herdling. It's an emotional adventure where you attempt to shepherd a flock of these excellent little critters called calicorns out of a dank city and into the wild blue yonder of the mountains. There's some light puzzle solving, some treacherous bits of navigation, and tense moments avoiding the various enemies who want to make a meal out of your pals. But most of the joy here comes from pressing on through the gorgeous environment as you grow more and more attached to your burgeoning crew of furry friends.
Kirby Air Riders.
So yeah, turns out we missed out on covering a few bigger AAA games this year as well. While a lot of Nintendo's spotlight in 2025 was set on Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza, Kirby Air Riders might be last year's most delightful surprise from the House of N. It's wonderful to see how much love, care, and attention was put into this follow-up to a relatively forgotten GameCube spin-off. The frantic mid-race combat scenarios, deeply enjoyable city trial mode, and staggering amount of unlockables are seriously impressive. Letting Masahiro Sakurai deliver his passion project after wrapping Smash Ultimate and before almost certainly moving on to the next Smash is like if From Software held off on making Elden Ring 2 in favor of giving us a bonkers ambitious remake of The Adventures of Cookie and Cream, which is honestly all I want in life.
Light up the town.
If you've ever wondered why we don't have the same amount of Christmas games as we do movies, you are not alone. Thankfully, Light Up the Town is here to become an annual holiday tradition. The cavity-inducing sweetness of its story and writing help bolster a decorating simulator where you go around this charming town tossing lights, wreaths, and other festive items on any surface you come across in order to spread holiday cheer. There's very little friction at play here, which makes it the perfect cozy game to pair with a nice warm beverage of your choice next December.
Many Nights a Whisper.
At the halfway point of this list comes Many Nights a Whisper, an hour-long interactive poem where you play as the dreamer, who has two major burdens placed upon their shoulders. The first is to listen to the wishes of the various folks in your society and decide whether or not they are worth coming true. You grant a child's wish for their increasingly distant parents to fall back in love, even if it means eliminating their free will? Do you introduce the gorgeous new flower to the country, not knowing how it'll impact the indigenous flora and fauna? The game delivers these kinds of ethical dilemmas in spades. But the second and much more pressing burden is that you have to train for a ritual of lighting a brazier from an impossibly far distance using your slingshot. You only have one shot, and it will determine whether or not those wishes are accepted and actually granted. Beautiful, meditative, and brief, Many Nights a Whisper is a single-sitting gem.
Pokémon Lazarus.
Arguably the best Pokemon game in years didn't come from Game Freak, Nintendo, or the Pokemon Company. Instead, it's a wildly ambitious mod based on Emerald called Pokémon Lazarus that feels like a classic GBA-era adventure packed with tons of modern bells, whistles, and quality-of-life features. It's set in a region inspired by the Greek Isles, which makes for an excellent backdrop to wrangle your critters, earn badges, and once again become the very best, like no one ever was. Lazarus contains over 400 monsters from across all 9 generations, variable difficulty modes, a nice side quest system, day-night cycles, and a ton of features that make it feel like a 2026 game in 2006 clothing, and I mean that as a compliment.
Simogo Legacy Collection.
Pound for pound, Simogo might be the most underrated developer in modern gaming. While they've made recent splashes with the Sugar Rush playable pop album Sayonara Wild Hearts and the Lynchian puzzle nightmare Lorelei and the Laser Eyes, their earlier work is now easily digestible thanks to the Simogo Legacy Collection. This includes 7 full games along with a wealth of behind-the-scenes and prototype auxiliary content. I recommend any horror fans check out Earwalk, a spooky adventure based on Swedish folklore. But the real gold here is Device 6, a puzzle-heavy 2013 visual novel that's equal parts House of Leaves, The Prisoner, and Lost. Side note, would love to see more of these Criterion-esque collections for interesting developers.
Splatterworld.
So this is a bit of a strange one. Splatterworld is an unreleased 1993 Famicom RPG spin-off of the blood-soaked beat-em-up series Splatterhouse that was lost to time until just recently when a prototype ROM found its way onto the internet. And the icing on this preservation cake is that the ROM hacking group Aeon Genesis quickly got to work and delivered an English translation patch, so with a bit of Googling, we can all experience this slice of video game history. I'm a huge proponent of the preservation work that translators like Clyde Mandelin, Hilltop, and Aeon Genesis do, allowing folks outside of Japan to experience all-timers like Mother 3 and Boku no Natsuyasumi. As friend of the channel Mark S. would say, the work is mysterious and important.
Strange Jigsaws.
Strange Jigsaws is a follow-up to the excellent 20 Small Mazes. And like its predecessor, it takes a simple and ubiquitous kind of challenge, in this case jigsaw puzzles, and explores them to the furthest stretches of their definition. Logic-based jigsaws, fourth wall-breaking jigsaws, jigsaws with actual weight to them that can impact other jigsaws, and so on. It's endlessly clever throughout its relatively brief runtime, and delivers that kind of big-brain satisfaction that only the best in the genre manage to achieve. I have season tickets for whatever developer Fleb works on until the end of time.
Stray Children.
Stray Children is an anti-RPG spiritual successor to the 90s cult classic Moon, a remix RPG adventure. Moon was one of the inspirations for Undertale, and Stray Children in turn feels like it pulls quite a bit from Toby Fox's masterpiece, creating a nice creative Ouroboros here. The quirky cast, obtuse puzzles, and gorgeous presentation make Stray Children feel like a lost PS1 game that was unearthed nearly 30 years later. While your mileage may vary on that, it is 100% calibrated to my tastes, and I'm stoked that the game got a Western release last October.
Sushi Ben.
It's about time we got some weeb shit on this list with Sushi Ben, a narrative adventure game that tosses you right in the middle of a slice of life anime filled with charming characters, a cozy seaside town, and a bunch of fun minigames. Honestly, just take a look at this manga-esque presentation and tell me that you don't want to live in this Toonami-tinged world. Sushi Ben released on VR platforms back in 2023, got a non-VR release this past September, so I think it counts. Also, it has this moment, which is the best character introduction of not just last year, but every other year in recorded human history. Well done, all.
The Drifter.
The Drifter is one of the best point-and-click adventure throwbacks in years. A noir thriller with a sci-fi twist, the inciting incident has you witnessing a murder, stumbling upon a conspiracy, getting killed yourself, and then waking up moments before said death. The time loops present here impact the story and help set up some really memorable puzzles and encounters. The crunchy pixel art, smart scenarios, and excellent writing and voice acting that oscillate between dark humor and heavy drama reminds me of the LucasArts classics in the best possible way. It's also hella Australian, which is always a plus in my book.
The 100-line Last Defense Academy.
The 100-line Last Defense Academy is not only the most ambitious game on this list, but also one of the most absolutely impressive of 2025. This visual novel / tactical RPG is a collaboration between the creators of Danganronpa and Zero Escape, and it's every bit as memorable as those classics. The fantastic cast of characters, engaging tactical combat, and a branching narrative that leads to an absurd 100 different endings, which are all worth experiencing as they fold together to create the full tapestry of the story, congeal to form a wholly unique experience. So, for all you sickos out there who keep voting for yachts to play Danganronpa on our annual summer game drought, I see you.
Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return Special Edition.
And finally, we have Tomba 2, The Evil Swine Return. Yeah, it's technically a 25-year-old PS1 game, but its remaster was finally released on modern hardware in December, meaning that you have no excuses not to play the criminally underrated Tomba duology. These games feel like what happens if you take a sprawling 2.5D action RPG, mix in some adventure game puzzles, and douse the whole thing in the excellent vibes of a Saturday morning cartoon. These have been some of my favorite PS1 hidden gems since I was a kid, and I'm thrilled that more folks get a chance to stomp some evil piggies as this spiky-haired cave boy. And there you have it, 20 rad games from 2025 that slipped under the radar and are worth a bit of extra attention. Let us know any others from last year that you feel like we missed covering, or if you just dig this kind of listicle format highlighting a bunch of underappreciated bangers. Video games. Turns out, they're pretty neat.